How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here and welcome back to today's update news video for next week on World of Tanks console. And of course, we are looking at everything Wargaming have given us for next week, including a brand new premium tank to World of Tanks console. It is, of course, the Italian Tier 8 tank destroyer, the Vipera, or the SMV CC64 Vipera, if we're going to be exact. And this is a tank that is on World of Tanks PC, and it is a very interesting one for sure. And we're going to have a look at the statistics of the vehicle, how it's likely going to play. There's a skin that you can get for it, along with some of the other information regarding Tankfest and the lead up to Tankfest as well, since it is a Wargaming sponsored event, and also the Aquino Tank Weekend, which you can get some rewards today, and of course early hours of tomorrow morning too. So other than that, let's get straight into the vehicle itself and take a quick look at what Wargaming's trailer have, since this is always an interesting one to see whether or not it really looks like it's going to be good. But straight away, let's get into the actual video itself. So here we go, War Heroes. So this is of course the new season for World of Tanks. You can see until July we have, or looks like the tank is of course got that gladiator skin. So essentially you have this essentially the base version of the tank, and then you also get like versions which come with the skin, which are slightly more expensive but have a discount on them, so it's cheaper I guess than buying the tank separately and then buying the skin if you're interested in having the skin for it. But yeah, other than that, it looks very, very kind of nice. But on PC, this tank is good, but it is, as I always expect from the Italian TDs, quite boring. So Wargaming saying that this will defend the fronts. Not entirely sure, but, you know, make of that what you will. Of course, Wargaming like to create these really cool intros to how these vehicles are going to play. But obviously, we'll be having a look at the statistic to see whether or not they're kind of making it up. Not that they make things up, but they definitely make it's in their interest to make them sound better than they might be. But of course, what they're saying here is it's got a 5-round autoloader capable of 2,000 burst damage, so that could be definitely interesting. And of course, 2,000 damage at this tier is good, but that doesn't actually come out as 2,000 damage necessarily all of the time, and that's because of the fact that these tanks primarily kind of run on the fact that they have a super long intricate reload. So if you've seen the T58 Heavy that we currently have in World of Tanks, it's going to play very much similar to that vehicle, whereby, you know, you have this high alpha damage that you can deal all in one go, but you don't necessarily always get to use it like that. And often there's times where it becomes this single shotgun, which is slightly different from what you'd expect from something like a TVP T5051, the tier 10 Czechoslovakian medium, which kind of outputs all of its damage within, you know, probably about 4.5 seconds, something like that, maybe slightly longer, maybe 5 seconds, depending on how you're running the tank with vents, etc., that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's essentially a looking like it's going to be the long intricate reload, but we'll have a look at the stats in a second. You're seeing just some epic gameplay of it destroying tanks. It's always funny to see these intros. We'll take a full tank review when it does come out on Tuesday. So it is released on Tuesday. You guys can play this tank on Tuesday. And here you go. Of course, June 6th to July 31st. So that is what the tank... It didn't really give us too much in the trailer, but I guess it is a new vehicle, at least for console anyway. And if you've seen it on PC, you kind of know what it's all about. I mean, you can see some of my PC videos if you're interested in looking at it in general. I do have a PC channel, which is linked on my channels page on my actual channel on this one, so you can have a look at that if you're interested. Don't bother if you're not that interested in PC. But straight into this, what do Wargaming say about the gameplay tips? So the first Italian tank destroyer on the console battlefield arrives ready to strike. The Vipera uses a gun mechanic that differs from usual single shot cannon. Specifically, it's a 5-round autoloader with high alpha damage and penetration, capable of dealing 2,000 damage. So yes, like we say, it's not the typical single shot. It has the autoloader, but of course that autoloader isn't the generic one usually. So the Vipera also boasts a thick frontal armor. I'll show you the armor model on PC in a second. We'll get into that in and where the weak points are, so you guys know how to take it out when it does drop on Tuesday, because there are a few nuances to it, and it is annoying to come up against on PC. So maybe they'll change the armor model on console. We have no idea. They don't give us a live armor model, unfortunately, on console, which kind of sucks. But it is what it is, and I guess I can just show you the kind of weak points that it does have on PC, but it is subject to change because this is console, and sometimes they buff, sometimes they nerf the premium tanks depending on how overpowered or how underpowered they were when they got released onto PC. So your job is to destroy enemy tanks. The alpha damage penetration make it easy, apparently. The thickness of the frontal armor allows you to take a position close to the front lines, which is what you want to be doing, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself only getting to shoot one of those shots every 20 seconds or whatever. The opportunities to dish out that damage aren't very much when you're kind of sat at the back, which is why the Vipera is definitely a more kind of aggressive tank destroyer. The Vipera also has a solid concealment values, allowing you to stake out a prime position to launch your attacks. I mean, I'm not entirely sure that that's the best way I'd describe it. I don't think it's a camping TD, but, it is what it is. So statistics-wise, it's a typical 50% silver bonus, so that is like any other kind of standard premium tank in the game that is on World War II, of course. This plays up to tier 10, 1300 hit points, pretty mediocre, nothing too special there. 30 kilometers an hour top speed, which is mediocre, quite slow, as with all of these Italian tank destroyers. You have a hull traverse of 18 degrees a second. So this is what really is horrible about these Italian tank destroyer, is that the hull traverse and the turret traverse is so bad that you are going to need clutch braking. I would also recommend putting on the speed boost equipment that boosts your max speed by 10% and also your hull traverse speed by 10%, just to make it a little bit more bearable, because it feels like a genuine rock when you're trying to move in this thing on PC, and it is looking like it's going to be the exact same on console. So 100% you want to increase the hull traverse, because you're going to get out traversed by pretty much every tank that you'll meet. Even heavies will probably be able to come around the side of you, bar maybe like the Maus or the E100 or something like that, like a super heavy, but most heavies, the E75 is probably going to be able to out traverse you, which is never good when you're playing in a tank destroyer, and especially when you're going to be 2 tiers lower than these super heavies. But either way, looks okay with regards to what the stats are. Of course, the armor model helps it out, but yeah, it really is horrible having that traverse speed. 10 degrees of gun depression, absolutely perfect, exactly what you want when you're playing in a kind of hold down sort of tank, and when you are getting into the front lines, it's always good. Penetration 220, very good for standard rounds. 264 on the premium, which is more than enough for most tanks you'll meet. Maybe not super heavies going through the front of the turret, but still very good. You'll hit the weak points and be able to pen quite easily. 400 damage per shell, so of course 5 lots of 400, 2000. Doesn't take a genius to work it out, but it's there. 3 second aim time, which is nice. Well, not nice, but of course it doesn't really matter too much when you have the intra-clip reload of 6 seconds. So you can basically aim before you actually need to fire, or can fire, I should say. So it looks pretty decent. Of course, this can come down with some of the perks, so you could probably get it down to maybe like 0.28, 0.2 or 2.7 even seconds. Accuracy 0.44, so it's not the most accurate tank, and hence why you don't want to be sniping in this thing. It is not a sniper whatsoever. This can probably come down as low as like 0.38 if you've got all of the perks that are going to boost up your kind of accuracy. Things like steady aim if you've got vertical stabilizers, but because it's an autoloader, I don't think you can use vertical stabilizers, but of course if you can, then you'll want to use that. Rate of fire 4.84 rounds a minute. Kind of sucks. So 38 second reload to reload that entire clip, and then of course 4 lots of 6 seconds, so you've got 24 seconds on top of the 38 to fully unload your clip from 0, starting with no rounds in the clip, reloading the entire clip, and then firing off all of those rounds. It will take you like 54 seconds or something in that region, which is why it actually has a damage per minute of 1936. So not too good, to be honest with you. So a very, very long kind of low damage per minute, which gets only worse if you can't actually fire off all of your shells when you are reloaded. So I feel like this tank is going to be a little bit dung. I don't think it's going to be amazing. And I think that the damage per minute really does make these tanks very difficult for new players to play well or come away with like large amounts of damage. I think the armor model makes up for that. So you're going to be able to survive a little bit longer, and it's probably kind of an easier tank to get into if you're interested in autoloaders, because it kind of plays like a single shot. If you kind of take it for what it is, you get 400 damage every 6 seconds when you're reloaded, and then all you have to do is kind of hide for that 38-second reload. You just pull back behind a corner or move somewhere else, and then you can reposition during that period of time so that when you are reloaded again, you've got some opponents to shoot and you can deal that damage over that 6-second intra-clip reload. So pretty decent. Shell speed is actually okay, 975, nothing spectacular. AP is standard, APCR as premium. So APCR being 1,150 meters a second, so it's quite fast, and you'll be able to pretty much deal with most things that you come up against. And the HE with 902, so HE is actually pretty fast as well. And the HE pen of this thing, 120, which means that if you're coming up against some of those lightly armored mediums, if you're coming up against Batchat 25Ts, if you're coming up against light tanks, anything like that, your HE rounds are going to be amazing. But there's one caveat, is that you probably won't want to take them, even if they are very good, is because of the fact that you're going to have to wait 38 seconds, and then you almost have to guarantee that that tank that you're going to be shooting at is going to be there for the entirety of that reload, because otherwise you're going to be left with, firing off 2 shells, and then you're going to be like, well, now I've got no one to actually shoot, and now, suddenly an E75 or an E100's come around the corner and I'm firing HE. So for the most part, I wouldn't recommend taking any HE in this thing for my personal playstyle. I just don't think it's going to work. And even if it is very good HE rounds with 120 pen, I just feel like it's going to be limited in what you can use it for. But of course, if you're just going for the memes and you're just trying to have some fun and just do that sort of stuff, which World of Tanks is all about, then maybe it's worth taking a bit for something like a Waffle E100 if you just want to ruin their day, and then of course be left high and dry with some HE rounds in your clip. Then that is down to you. But other than that, view range pretty lackluster, 360 meters, nothing spectacular. You're not going to be out spotting a whole lot with this tank. So yeah, kind of a bit poo, but still not too bad. And I think generally the tank is going to be a fairly balanced one from my personal opinion. The only thing is the armor is just boring. So the tank, in my opinion, is very boring anyway, but you can see the armor model here, very thick frontal armor, which makes this tank super annoying to come up against. It has a roof that can be penned or overmatched on PC, but with the overmatch mechanics in console not being exactly the same, they just don't work the same. It can be a little bit annoying to actually reliably pen, but we'll have to see how it actually fares in the game. And I feel like now is the time to bring up the actual live armor model of this tank, because, there's only so much we can get from this. It doesn't even tell us the armor values. So let's just have a quick look at that armor and I'll show you some of the weak points that you can use. Now then, this is the Vipera's actual armor model. You can see it here looking pretty decent, and essentially what we have with this tank is that really thick frontal armor, with the only real weak point that you can see being this lower plate, which has basically no armor. It's 20 mil thick, which you can pen very easily if you do manage to find it, but of course it's such a slim shot, and often if you're looking from kind of above it or if it's on a ridge line using the gun depression, you're not going to be able to hit this thing, which is very annoying, and it can lead to you getting frustrated when you are playing against this thing, and it's just a pain in the backside for the most part. And of course, basically that is the only weak point you have from the front. When you are on PC, the roof is 40mm thick, so on PC any guns that are over 120mm thick, so the actual main gun itself, so for example if you've got a 150mm cannon on your gun, something like a Borsig would be able to go through the roof of this tank regardless of what the angle is, regardless of the thickness thickness of the, not the thickness, but the effective armor that it has, it would still just go straight through it because it's 3 calibers bigger than the armor thickness. So unfortunately, I don't think the console actually has it. I've asked the question before and no one really gave a definitive answer as to whether Overmatch works the same. But from my opinion, there's been so many times where I thought, yeah, this is definitely overmatching this area. I should be able to just automatically pen the side. It doesn't happen. It still bounces. So I don't know if it works in the exact same region. Wargaming said that it was the same up until a certain patch, but then they didn't really give a kind of understanding as to what they did and what changed. But yeah, still, armor model of the Vipera is like 300 millimeters basically everywhere. And of course, if you do have super high penetration on premium rounds, the kind of upper plate can become a pen spot, 258 millimeters though. So you are going to have to fire premium basically at this tank to pen it from the front, which kind of sucks. And if you have like a Jaeger, you could just pen the turret. But then again, most Jaegerus can, Jaegerus can pen most vehicles, so I don't think that's really anything to say about the armor. But the armor is very, very good on this tank if you're keeping it frontal. But as soon as you see a Vipera start to turn like this plate right here, this is your go-to. This is the juice at which you go for. This area right here. It's much like the Type 5 in that, you have these kind of angled bits on the front of the tank, and this is where you want to go. And if the turret becomes slightly to the side, you want to hit this huge flat plate, which is an easy pen and a way you'll get free damage, as well as the side armor is basically a pen as well. And if you do manage to catch the Vipera right on the side, it's an easy pen. This is where you want to be finding the Vipera. And of course, remember that the whole traverse of this tank is so slow that getting around the side of it and finding the rear of the tank is very easy to do. So although, you do have a cupola on this tank, trying to hit that cupola, it's just never going to reliably happen. It's tiny. It is so small. And the angle at which you're probably going to end up hitting it is, you might end up just bouncing anyway. So it's a very risky strategy to sit in front of a Vipera when it's pumping you for 400 damage, trying to hit a pixel on that cupola. I just don't think it's realistic, so I would avoid trying to do that, and simply load premium and see if it's possible for you to pen that upper plate if you're looking from above, or alternatively try and get that very slim lower plate from the front, and that's about your only options. Otherwise, just try and get around the side of it, or if you can't do that, just leave. There's no point in trying to fight one of these things. If it gets hulled down using the gun depression, as we can see here, the armor becomes insane, like 330 millimeters. The upper plate goes up to 300 millimeters. There's basically nothing you can really do against this tank if it does get hulled down with the 10 degrees of gun depression. So that's kind of how this tank plays. Of course, this is the PC version. They don't actually have a console version to show you because it's not even released, and Wargaming don't actually have a live armor model like this does that shows you the kind of angles and the bounces and stuff that you can do on tanks like this. But it's there for you guys that are interested in the weak points, and hopefully you're not going to be frustrated too much. There is one bonus weak point for you guys, is that if it is using the gun depression, and you can see up into this location here on the right and the left of the tank, you can actually shoot up into the armor of this tank. You can track it and you can pen it. So you see that there is this flat plate underneath. That is actually possible to pen. So if it is using its gun depression like this, it's quite easy to actually pen it by going up into this location and this location here. So that's a little bonus one for you guys. It is quite a nuanced one. Of course, it needs to be using its gun depression, otherwise you're not going to hit it. But yeah, as soon as it starts using it, you can pen it up here. And of course, the lower plate, if it does expose it, can be a weak point too. So that's kind of what the Vipera has in terms of its armor model and its statistics. So I guess we can go down and have a look at how much it's going to cost. And that is probably one of the most important things for you guys. And the first bundle that we have with the hero skin, with all of the equipment that is basically charged you at gold value, which is why it boosts up the price of the bundle, will cost you 13,700 gold, which is very expensive. Comes with some boosters as well. But remember, it's very inflated, this price, and I wouldn't recommend spending 13,700 gold, since the silver are charged at gold prices, which are always just horrendously expensive to convert gold into silver. silver, so I wouldn't recommend it ever. And of course, you can just play a couple games in Cold War with the ×2 silver boost, and you're going to make way more silver than they'll be charging you to be able to actually get that the silver equivalent to purchase the equipment on the tank. So that's just a heads up for you guys. The Vipera loaded is essentially just the tank with some premium time and the boosters, 10,100 gold, so it's quite expensive again, and essentially you're just getting a load of like filler items that aren't really that interesting. But the base version of the tank, 7,750 gold, which is, you know, a reasonable price for a brand new tank. It's 25% off of the standard value, and yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, and of course I'll do a review of it. Do I think you should be scrambling out there to pull out your credit cards to give Wargaming a load of money for this new tier 8 premium? Probably not, considering what the statistics are like. And of course, I think that you should probably check out some of the reviews from some of the YouTubers, whether that's myself or you go to someone else. Just make sure that you have a look at the tank before you purchase, which is something I always recommend. Otherwise, you're going to be left with a little bit of a bitter taste in your mouth, which is never a good thing. So just make sure that you do think about that. And of course, you can check out people like Petty. I don't know if Ricky Tikitave is going to be doing a review of the tank. But yeah, you can definitely have a look at them. And I will be doing one. So you can always come back here in a few days when the season goes, or when the tank actually goes live on Tuesday. It should come out on either Tuesday evening or, of course, on Wednesday evening as well, about 5 o'clock UK time. But other than that, the Gladiator skin, if you just want purely the skin as well as the base version, which will cost you 10,750 gold, will be, of course, 3,000 gold for just the skin, and of course 7,750 for the actual tank. So, you know, I mean, the skin looks cool. Do I think it's worth 3,000 gold? I don't know. It's down to you, down to personal preference, how much you think you're going to be using the tank, and then, yeah, how much gold you got lying around on the game to actually purchase this thing. But other than that, that is the actual CC Vipera. I think it looks interesting and it's a nice addition to the game. And shortly, the actual Italian tank destroyers are going to be coming into the game at the end of the month. So stay tuned for that. It will be an interesting one to see. And of course, we'll get all of the tanks actually added in there. So that's cool. And we'll have a look at those when they do come out. But moving on, we do have some challenges, and I've wanted to clear this up for you guys because I've played all of these tanks recently. There's going to be reviews of each one so you can have a look at them. And this is essentially a free tank earn operation where you can pick one of 3 tier 7 medium/light tanks in the game. And that's the HMH AMX 1357, the Jackal, and the Eagle 7. And all 3 of these tanks are good. I think they're all got their own rights, some interesting stuff about them. In terms of like how well they play, I think for me personally, the Eagle 7 is a very solid contender and probably one of the ones that I would recommend. The Jackal is a very fun tank. It is a fast autoloader. It reloads super quick. It doesn't do the most damage. And of course the armor sucks, but it is a really interesting and fun one to play. It's actually the most enjoyable tank that I played out of the lot of them. I just think it offers something kind of cool and it suits my playstyle rather than some of the others, which I think is kind of the thing that you've got to understand. So I don't think that, because I had a look at this tank originally, I played it I think originally and I thought, this tank is basically a Sherman with an AMX 1375 turret and basically some pretty lackluster amount of damage it can kick out. But having played it and having really kind of delved into it, I think this tank is actually okay, and kind of very interesting to play and fun, obviously, which is what this game should all be about. So yeah, I think this would be a decent pick. I think you could genuinely pick any of them and you wouldn't be like horribly like, yeah, hated, or you're not going to hate any of them, I think. But for me, having played the AMX 1357, I just don't like this tank. I cannot get to grips with it. It's one of those tanks that's like very cool nuance. It has like a super fast autoloader. So I think it has 10 shells in its magazine, 8 shells in its magazine even, doing 90 damage per shell. So you got 710, or no, slightly less than that. I think you got 720 damage that you can deal in one singular clip, which is interesting. But I find this tank to be a little bit annoying. And it's just basically very slow for a light tank. It's very slow to get up to top speed. It doesn't turn particularly amazingly. and you're not going to be out traversing a whole lot. It's very much a kind of, you have to let the opponents over push you or like push too hard, and then you come in with this thing to really make it work. You can't kind of just YOLO in for a clip and then leave like you can with some of the tech tree French light tanks, and it just feels a little bit slow and lackluster. And from my experience playing it, I literally get set on fire nearly every single game. And if you saw the stream recently, I was doing well, I was kind of having a good game, and a Dreadnought KV2 came around, hit me once, dealt 700 damage to me, set me on fire, and I was full health in just one shot. So that was a fun experience. And I mean, not getting triggered about it. It is what it is. The game, of course, has fires and stuff, but it's just one to be aware of because this tank has no armor. It's quite slow. It's still fun. I think this tank is very fun when it works well, and it feels so good when you're just like unloading constant rounds into people, and I definitely think that it's one worth having a look at. But yeah, whether or not it's the kind of top choice like I thought it would be, I don't know. But yeah, make up your own minds as to what you think. I don't think that there's any wrong option here. I'd love to say, you know what, this is the tank you should get, but just remember, this one's a slower autoloader with a fast or like firing autoloader, so it's a slow tank, or slow light tank with a fast firing autoloader. This one is like a slowish, it's relatively fast for a medium tank with a really good fast firing autoloader and also a fast reloading autoloader. And then you've got like the traditional kind of, almost if you took an M46 Pershing and dropped it down a tier, it's kind of what you have with this tank. So I think it's they're all very good options, but of course, just take what your preference is. Are you interested in more mediums? Do you like the pattern? Do you like the Pershing? Do you like the M46 pattern? Yeah, just take it as a pinch of salt. And of course, don't stress about trying to get these tanks. They're fairly easy to get anyway. They're just basically 350,000 XP that you needed to get over 2 weeks. But yeah, just let me know what you think about all of those. And of course, leave your comments as to which one you'd pick. But I thought I'd go over this again and just highlight my kind of findings with these. There'll be reviews of each one of them. If you want to wait to redeem which one you're going to pick, then maybe that would be an interesting one for you guys to have a look at. But yeah, hopefully that gave you a little introduction to each of them and the sort of playstyle that they have. But moving swiftly onwards, we of course have the Aquino Tank Weekend. I might be butchering the name, I apologise, but yeah, I apologise. Of course, this is available until Tuesday, so this is June 13th, and essentially you're getting an emblem, you're getting some skins or camo as well that you can pick up, but that will cost you gold, so that's kind of what that is. But we also have Tankfest 2023, so this is something that is interesting, and of course I will also be going to Tankfest as well, so that will be a very, very cool thing to do, and maybe not some of you who are going might see me, but I am going on the Saturday, June 24th, so I should be out and about around the kind of game area, as well as actually just having a look around the museum itself and of course the event, but essentially what it is a big festival with a load of tanks driving around. There's the tank museum, it's at Bovington, and of course it has like the wargaming support. They kind of sponsor the tank museum, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a mutual partnership. They give them a little bit of money to research into doing various different tanks, and of course they get the access to like the resources at the tank museum to kind of give them an idea as to what tanks were made, the sort of historical accuracies, I guess. I don't know that that's guaranteed. I haven't like got any wargaming confirmation, but I feel like that's the sort of thing that it is, you know. It's kind of just a mutual thing. I think that, and it benefits both of them, and I think Tankfest is a very, very interesting thing to do. I'm not saying that you should go every year. It is kind of expensive, of course, to get in, and all of the tickets have actually sold out, I believe, now, so I don't think you can actually go if you haven't already booked your ticket, unless you buy like a gold ticket, which I had to do because, you know, I'm an idiot and didn't actually buy my ticket early enough, so I had to buy the gold 12-month ticket to the Tank Museum, so yep, thank you, lovely. But either way, yeah, I will be there on June 24th for Tankfest, and of course there will be some World of Tanks Modern Armour people, and there will be the community manager or the senior community manager, which is Teak, and T-Kane Of course, he does the Twitch streams. There will be Associate Social Media Manager. So this is KB. Of course, she's been around for a while. They'll both be there. So these are kind of the community side that you've probably seen and heard throughout all of the live streams. We've then got the live ops designer, the game designer, and the vehicle designer, as well as another live ops producer, and they'll all be there along with Ricky Tiki Tave, who'll be there as well. So I'm interested to seeing him in the flesh. I did throw a bit of shade in his Discord when he said he was going, but yeah, I'm I'm looking forward to going, and of course meeting Ricky for the first time, and I'm assuming that they will all be in the kind of game zone at periods of time. So whether or not you see them, say hi. Of course, I might be there as well. So special Tankfest live stream is also happening. So this is a usual live stream is on Friday, and it's the same thing except it's at Tankfest. So there'll be an actual live at the Tank Museum on the Twitch channel. So I highly recommend you guys go and check that out if you're free. But it is 2 p.m. UTC, which I believe is like GMT sort of thing, Universal Time Coordinate, I believe stands for. I'm pretty sure, hopefully I don't get that wrong, but essentially that's actually 2 p.m. in British time, or 3 p.m. British Standard Time, I believe, which is of course various different time zones throughout the world. So just work it out based on 2 p.m. UTC and you'll get it right. And if you don't, just maybe have a look on Twitch and see whether or not anyone's streaming. There'll be, of course, T-Kane, Bam, there'll be Plague and Ricky Tikitave for a discussion that will cover Cold War medal design, special exclusive reveals of future content, and a ton of community questions will be answered on that live stream. So Ricky's going to be part of the live stream, which is really cool. I think it's a nice opportunity to get to know him if you haven't already seen. Very, very good YouTuber. I highly recommend you go and check out his channel as well, and all of the rest of the community contributors as well. But mainly there is, of course, a gaming booth. So this is where they'll be during the event when they are actually available there. And this is, of course, a gaming zone, so everyone can try out World of Tanks Modern Armour. Plus members of the What MA crew will be spending time there throughout the weekend. So stop by and say hello, so you'll be able to actually join us. So I will be there on Saturday, probably around sort of lunchtime area. I'll probably nip in and say hello to everyone and be able to, see some of you guys if you're interested. But I'll leave you a kind of a post on the community tab when it gets closer to the time, so you guys will know when I'll be there. If you're interested in actually, I don't know, seeing me, I don't know if anyone's going to be interested in that. It's kind of cringy, but okay, I will be there. So yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly on, there's also some giveaways, contests and bonus codes, so everyone's favourite, of course, getting actual free stuff that the What MA crew will be handing out at Tankfest. So there'll be giveaways happening on our social media accounts, so that's Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and special contests running for all 3 days on the Discord. So essentially you can join that if you go to the World of Tanks console Discord. You'll be able to do that. And then there's in-game sales as well. Starting on June 20th, they'll have a special Tankfest bundle available in the store at massive discounts. And be sure to check on June 20th What's Happening This Week article on our news page for all the details. So they'll be dropping a big news article. But it looks like what we have here is the Banshee Comet. So this is, of course, the Comet, but at kind of tier 7, of course, like a premium version. Looks like we got a chieftain in the background, I believe. Should probably zoom in, might actually get a better look here. Maybe, of course, it's a Cold War vehicle. I don't know, I'm not that well versed in what it actually looks like. I don't even know if this is, maybe that's definitely looks like a Comet. It might be a Challenger. It's not the easiest to actually make out because it's quite small and low res from what I can see. And then, of course, the Fury looks like it might be on sale again. So this is interesting. This is a tier 6 kind of tank that was released as part of the Fury actual release of the film. So this has not been on sale for the longest time. So maybe this will come back out. So that'll be an interesting one to try and pick up. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a good one. And hopefully I'll see you there if you're going. But of course, don't don't worry about coming up and saying hello. I don't mind. But of course, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then, yeah, hopefully that was a decent rundown of the news. Of course, thank you very much for sticking by and having a look at the news, and of course just enjoying the channel, or at least finding it somewhat entertaining or enjoyable or informative, whatever you come here for. I'm glad that you do. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the next video, which will look at some of those tanks that we showed, the Jackal, the Eagle 7 and the AMX 1357. And yeah, I'm preparing to go on holiday next week, so yeah, there'll be a ton of videos having to be pre-recorded, so if I look like absolute shambles, that's probably why. And yeah, hopefully you guys do enjoy it, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks very much and have a great weekend. Goodbye.